Hello everybody, this is Leo Brady with AMovieGuy.com. I am excited to be here today for this edition of the Hot Seat interview with a director who is just blowing my mind with his new film. I am such a fan of this movie. Azrael is the name of it. I can't wait for everybody else to see it. This is director E.L. Katz.
Hello.
Thank you.
How's it going?
Thank you. The first question we like to ask is, what movie or cinematic moment made you say, I want to be a director?
You know, it's so funny because it's like, I feel like there's cumulatively moments where you watch a movie before you know that you want to do it, but that kind of stick with you so much. I think that Repo Man, anything with Emilio Estevez and Harry Dean Stanton together in their shitty car driving around LA landscapes, like, you know, that really got me. Big Lebowski, just anytime John Goodman talked. And I did, you know, I watched, I think it was Evil Dead 2 before I watched Evil Dead 1, which was a huge inspiration when I was really, really young.
Yeah.
And it kind of, you know, I think I started out definitely more into the splatter stuff. I got more into the weirder, more, you know, slow burny kind of psychological stuff as I got older. But I do think that the, you know, the nonstop sort of just insane thrill ride gore stuff was at first like definitely my bread and butter. And like and they started getting into the Italian shit.
Yeah.
You know, I have a Fulci tattoo. I think as soon as I got into that world, it just really did open up. But it's hard to know what was the one movie, but it was this cumulative experience that kind of did it.
Yeah, those movies that you just named, honestly, like, show your taste and show, like, honestly, with your films, that those films sort of like pop out. It's,
cool.
You know what I mean? Especially with this new one. But many people discovered you with your work on Cheap Thrills. It's, as you said, it's over 10 years old now, which is crazy.
I'm very old now, yeah.
Yeah, but still, it's like, it was a huge, I was a huge fan of it. It was like a huge success for like dark comedies and sort of like Midnighters. It really became sort of like a viral success at the time before that was even really a thing. Now, that was your first film, but do you try to keep the things that you sort of learned from that film, you know, in everything that you do? I mean, it feels like you still sort of have that old school independent, you know, feel to the movies that you make, where there's a lot of love and your hands in it.
No, you have to.
Yeah.
I think like Cheap Thrills, you know, the few lessons that, like, you know, that stick with me, I think you realize that there's like the set piece is truly the thing that I always go like, did we nail it? Are we putting enough time into it? Did we put enough thought into it? And there's no set piece that's throwaway. And there's no, like, even if it's just a finger, that figure needs to be treated like it's like the whole world.
Right.
And I think like our genre, you know, is about a series of set pieces. There's so much more than that, but I do think that that's really where you really want to nail it, because that's the stuff that I think sometimes burns into people's brains, and you know that it is the storytelling. So that, and then just the independent stuff. I think, like, you know, I've bounced around between like TV, where it's kind of more of a, you know, I think I've been brought into some TV stuff because I do come from like a horror background, and they want somebody that has a little bit of that, you know, kind of connected to that stuff. But I do like having like more of an indie vibe with the shit that I work on. Like, you know, Channel Zero to me was so fun. It felt like working on like a long movie.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we had weird creatures. We got to shoot it in a weird way.
Right.
We got Barbara Crampton in it. We got, you know, like, it was just a fun way to do kind of almost like a low budget horror movie on television.
Yeah.
Sometimes TV gets a bit more buttoned up, you know, there's still craft in it. There's still things that are cool about it. But I think, like, I'm always drawn to weird things in the genre. Like, what can we do in the genre? There's always room to play in it.
Yeah.
And there's a flexibility, and you know, the audience, I think, can be pretty open-minded. You know, we'll see with Azrael, but like, you know, it's, you know, it is a place that should be approached with an independent spirit and like creativity, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you mentioned Azrael. We have to talk about this movie. I was absolutely blown away by this thing.
Cool. Thank you.
The lead for the film, obviously, is the great Samara Weaving. Tell me, how were you able to bring her onto this project, and sort of what was your relationship like from the start of the project to the very end? I mean, I know that like things happen in between from the minute she agrees to come on, and then now it's a growing process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, so Samara, there was a few actors that we were talking to that read the script, and she came on, and you know, with every actor I would tell them, listen, like, before you do this movie, I just want to say, like, this is not going to be that fun of a shoot. You know, we're in Eastern Europe, you know, and I like Estonia, like, but we're in a very cold place. Yeah. We're in the woods. It's going to be like 30 nights of physical shooting. There's going to be all these stunts that you're going to be in every frame. It's constantly these like scare scenes where you're supposed to be in a state of like heightened emotion.
Yeah.
And some actors were like, that's not my bag. But, you know, Samara was like, fuck it, like, I like a challenge.
Yeah.
Let's get weird. And she's very cinematically adventurous, you know what I mean? So as soon as we talked about doing it, she started training immediately. And then when she got to Estonia, she started working with Stanimir Samatov, who was our stunt coordinator, very gifted.
Yeah. And
started working on rehearsing these like really complicated, hard scenes to see how much of her actual performance could be put into them, because they were really key for storytelling.
Right.
But, you know, Sam never complained about anything, if I can remember, which is sort of crazy.
Yeah.
Because she's well within her rights, because it's like incredibly complicated stuff under really brutal circumstances.
Yeah.
But she's a gamer, and I think that there's nothing she can't do. So it was a real dream. If we'd had anybody who wasn't up for it, we would have been, you know, dead out there in the woods.
Yeah. That like part, even talking to you about that, is awesome to hear, because it does lead me to my next question, which I was going to say, like, and I don't want to just stick on her, but it's like she had made Ready or Not. She had done Mayhem with Joe Lynch and stuff. So she kind of like has this sort of background already of doing bloody, you know, get her hands dirty kind of movies.
Yes.
And yet I do think this is so different. Her performance here is like, you notice the nuance of like what she's doing, and it could be because that she can't speak. Like, I know that that's a part of it, but like, but tell me sort of, do you give her any directing notes and say like, hey, I gotta have you forget Ready or Not. I gotta have you forget those movies.
I never had to tell her that.
Yeah.
I think that she's a really intellectual performer, and I think that she looked at this as a very different kind of beast.
Yeah.
You know, there was you know, there's a lot of mystery in the script. That also allows her to kind of create her own backstory in her head.
Yeah.
You know, so I might have my own idea of the mythology, Simon might have his, she has her own, but all of us are right because it's interpretive, and I think it gave her a lot of room to craft stuff that helped her. And then, you know, me and her would talk about each scene and see if it doesn't feel right.
Right.
Do we want to try something in this other way? I think that even though there's a lot of strangeness to the movie, you can track her going on this dark journey.
Right.
And I think she was incredibly good at finding that nuance and those different steps as she's getting pushed into this place that's like, by the end, pretty drastically different.
Yeah. You mentioned Simon. I mean, he's your writer for this film.
He's a producer.
You
did second unit directing.
Well, it's interesting. You, Simon, and Adam have all sort of been connected in some ways on a lot of films. Adam Wingard. What's interesting is you guys all have taken very different paths.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have made very different movies. You know, Adam's doing giant monsters. Yeah. You're doing monsters in the woods in a way. Yeah. But are those have those relationships with those guys, especially even with Simon, obviously, has it just become like secondhand? I mean, are they like your brothers at this point because you guys are so close and have been working on movies together for so long now?
Well, yeah, I've known Adam for 21, 22 years. I've known Simon for 20 years. You know, when you make a movie, there's a whole new kind of communication that has to be learned. So, you know, me and Simon did butt heads a lot. But we also, you know, I think what we have is a deep respect for each other, and we love this genre.
Yeah.
We fucking love this genre so fucking much. And I think we always wanted to make movies that were uncompromising within it, and I think that's how we always kind of yes-and each other and just really try to push and make things as, you know, go as hard as we can. But yeah, I love those guys like family.
Yeah.
My manager's actually here, and he reps Adam as well, and he met us like it feels like 20 years ago. But 17.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you too, from like the technical side, obviously there's like a lot of great blood, makeup effects, things of that nature too. But what I actually loved about this, you mentioned Estonia, there's this scene where she's kind of like, walking through, which almost looks like you guys created your own village. It's like a tent village, you know, like it's like, but it feels so real. I mean, it's like, when I was watching it, I kind of like thought of like it's the wrong word, but it's like trash art, like the way like trash has this unique organism that creates. Like what type of work went into creating that village?
Well, we had it was amazing. Well, we had my production designer Carlos Laszlo. He comes from a very almost like installation arty kind of background. He was the production designer for a lot of like early The Weeknd videos.
Oh,
and, like,
cool.
He's just like a cool, weird guy. So we brought him out from LA, and then he was working with Kaya, an amazing production designer from Estonia. So she was working as an art director under him. And yeah, like trash art is totally it. Like I really wanted to go really just crummy shitty, that these people are living such shitty lives because they're just waiting for this impossible, stupid, you know, second rapture to maybe happen that they barely understand. So it's like they're putting themselves in the most miserable, shitty conditions where they could have probably been living inside of that church and maybe they would have been a little warmer.
Yeah.
But I just like the idea of people, you know, one of my issues with religion is that it's a lesson for people to forget the life that they're currently living because of something that's promised after.
Yeah. And
to me, that feels pretty grifty and also like the wrong kind of way to look at things. So it was just trying to put them in the worst conditions possible. And like we had a 360 world. It was like a whole, you know, we built it. It was a big set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've got that church. You've got, I mean.
We built that. Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, that like when you tell me that you built it and you like create that all together, that's when the movies come to life, right?
100%. Because a lot of times they make you do that stuff all with VFX.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're not getting to see every single piece that's getting put up because it's in some other country somewhere and it's just happening. And at some point they say, this is what it looks like. And you go, okay, I can't argue with you.
Yeah.
Because, all right, sure, you know, but it's really nice to be able to see the tactile process come together and, kind of once in a lifetime.
Yeah. Last question before I let you go. I don't want to bogart your time.
It's fun.
I brought up the makeup effects. A lot of blood, a lot of. I mean, you know, you go back to Cheap Thrills. I mean, you love. I love. You love to turn the screws and stuff like that.
Shit.
What are you just?
The sicko.
No, not that. Are you getting incredibly excited to hear the audience react to this film?
Yeah, I listen. I'm always nervous before any of this shit happens. I have tons of anxiety, but it's like. I do want to see how they respond to some of the violent scenes because we put a lot of time and effort into them. You know, it's like they're your babies. Like anytime like a gore scene gets pulled off, it's like your children. So I hope the children are loved and accepted and get to go to a good charter school.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. All right, E.L. Katz, thank you so much for talking with me today. Azrael is playing tonight at South by Southwest at 9:30. We can't wait for everybody to see it and have these reactions. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
That's great.
Yeah.